Hi, my name's Phil. I like talking about politics, and in this video, I'd like to discuss the way a former Brexit advisor has surveyed a range of companies to ask them how Brexit is going and is highlighting some of the problems as if they were largely unexpected to them. So, another bonehead that was involved in our Brexit strategy that seemed woefully unprepared to understand the scale of the problems. But first, if you'd like to be notified of daily news and politics, please subscribe to the channel and click the bell notification icon. So this concerns the findings of someone called Christopher Salmon, cited as a training consultant who used to advise David Frost and Michael Gove. So someone who had the nerve to suppose he could advise on Brexit. His own professional biography states that he oversaw the UK's border preparations for leaving the EU. Now that's his point of view, that's what he says about himself. I don't know how instrumental he would be considered by others, including Michael Gove and David Frost. Though I do not think that, given how our Brexit border preparations have worked out, I would wish to place on record that I was chiefly responsible, as Mr. Salmon appears to be doing. Still, never mind the misplaced pride. What has his little survey discovered, and what do I think of his surprise? Well, the first statement I'm going to pick on, there was an article here, and the first one I'm going to pick on is not the first as it appeared in the source article. I'm picking on this first because it highlights much of the problem with our Brexit preparations, namely we had idiots in charge. He said, and I quote, "There may not be long queues of lorries at ports that some had predicted, but that does not mean there aren't issues." He then said, "Instead, the impact of delays is spread along the supply chain." The thing is, this is what was predicted. I have been steadily increasing the number of experienced logistics experts that I've been following over the past few years. They all said this is how it would work. First of all, you can imagine it. It's straightforward. Imagine it from the lorry driver's point of view, right? With a hard Brexit, you need your paperwork in order to get through the border. Otherwise, you're not getting through the port. Why even go there? So until that paperwork is in order, there is no point driving off towards the port to get stuck in a queue. And which would you rather? Would you rather be stuck at the warehouse waiting, where there might be a toilet, or stuck in a queue on the A20 where there might not even be a bush? It's not hard, and people who understood the process were telling us that a lot of the delays would be hidden, for example, at warehouses. It makes you question why this person, who is claiming to have had oversight over our preparations, at no point seemed to actually ask any lorry drivers how the changes would impact them. How is it only now that they're going, "Oh, it looks like the delays are spread throughout the supply chain," as if that were unexpected? I mean, if I could find out years ahead of our exit from the single market and customs union, how come the guy actually overseeing our preparations couldn't? The other thing to mention is this about there may not be the long queues of lorries. I mean, that is also exposing a staggering level of ignorance of what's going on even now, never mind what was going to happen. Four things to point out here, I suppose. First of all, if we assume he is referring to the 17 miles of tailbacks alluded to in the Yellowhammer report, that was based on the worst case scenario of a no-deal Brexit and did not factor in lorry parks. If we did not have the lorry parks, the queues of lorries, which are absolutely in evidence now, would be even longer. Second thing is, we have not applied full border controls yet. Queues were less severe last year, partly because of continued COVID-related travel restrictions. That meant that we could allow more bandwidth, so to speak, for lorries to use because there wasn't as many cars as you'd expect. And also because we weren't applying border controls at our end. Now we've implemented some customs controls. It's still not full customs controls, despite what the government website says, because we're not carrying out many physical checks. Again, if we did carry out full customs controls, including the necessary physical checks to avoid smuggling, the queues would be much longer. Third, we've not even pretended to apply standards controls. They are, according to those logistics experts, worse than customs controls. So bad, in fact, that we may end up delaying them again, as we already have several times. And fourth, there are the biometric border controls to consider later this year as well. If we do not come up with a very cunning plan for that, this will mean trade having to be scaled right back. The queues will initially be horrendous, and then there will be no option other than to shrink our economy. We will not be able to trade as much, really that simple. And how many times have we seen this? Someone closely involved in our strategic planning for Brexit that didn't, as it turns out, even understand the basics of what they were planning for. Like a general coming up with a battle plan without even knowing what the battlefield looks like or what troops either they or the enemy has. Madness. I mean, Brexit is madness in concept. With the best minds on the job, you could not make Brexit work. Sorry, Starmer, do what you need to win the next election, but it's nonsense. We don't even have the best minds on the job, though, do we? We get people who plan for our post-Brexit borders without bothering to ask people whose job it has been for years to pass over trade borders. Brexit is a bad idea implemented by the village idiot. And you know what he reckons his survey came up with? He summarises that the companies he surveyed, which is not actually very many, really, were not of the view that the government were going to do much to help ease the situation. He says the view is that they have more faith in the logistics industry and individual companies to make things better. Now, this may be true. It may well be that the logistics industry is doing more than the government to ease problems. But here's the thing, they can't solve the problems. If you have delays caused by customs procedures and checks, that's down to the trading arrangements on either side of the customs border and the international laws governing it. That is down to any treaties which exist between the governments that manage either side of the border. Logistics can't change that. This Mr. Salmon even tried coming up with the same cobblers about unfamiliarity with the procedures. You know, say, people need to get used to it. Although he blamed foreign businesses. These foreign businesses, you see, are not quite used to the system. He wasn't about to blame the British ones, it seemed. But I've tackled this before as well. This notion that people just need to get used to the new systems and it'll be fine. It's all rubbish. First of all, the new systems involve spending way more time on documentation. You know, even if we had an efficient digital system to help out, which even this Salmon fella acknowledges is missing, he described the systems as archaic. Yeah, he's not wrong there. So if we had oversight over our planning, why didn't he make sure we had a fully integrated digital system in place that worked then? No answer there. No question either, to be fair. Not sure that being a journalist these days really requires the same standard it used to. But even if we had such a system and it all worked, a couple of things to consider. First, it still takes more time to use than when we were in the single market customs union. So it still creates delays. No getting away from that. And secondly, new businesses emerge all the time and new people join existing businesses. So this idea that people just need to get used to the systems is claptrap. The people are not fixed in time, they change. As new people need to use these systems, they will need to get used to them. There will never be a time when everyone can navigate this complex system easily. The only solution to a complex system is to simplify the procedures. And we did that years ago. We did it, it's brilliant, works like a charm. It was called forming the EU. And just finally, when I thought this man couldn't come across as any dumber, he said the following. First, that if the border processes could be speeded up, the UK would have valuable software and expertise that it could sell to the rest of the world. You what? If the border processes could be speeded up, they're slowing down, mate. We didn't implement Brexit in one full go like the EU did. We're phasing it in. We're still phasing it in. With each new phase, the process gets slower, not faster. The phases still to come are customs checks, because we're not doing them right now. Standards checks, biometric checks. When they are all fully in place, our trade will grind to a halt, relatively speaking. A trickle, certainly. And then he made it worse by saying that he cannot think of a trade border anywhere else in the world where such a volume of trade passes through at such a rate. Well, my final few thoughts on that comment. First of all, I don't know which borders have the highest rate of freight passing through it either. Neither, I suspect, does he. Because after this article, I think I probably know more about trade borders than he does. I don't know the answer to that one. Secondly, that rate is slowing right down and it is set to get slower still. So even if it did, if Dover had the highest rate of freight at one time, that ain't going to be its future. Third, if he recognises that it is such an important trade route, why in the name of puppies and their unicorn buddies did he decide that putting massive trade barriers in its way was something he not only wanted to be part of, but likes to boast about? We'll see if he's still boasting about it in a year or two. But those are my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comments below. I hope you found the video interesting. If you did, don't forget to click the like button. And if you'd like to support the channel further, please also click the Patreon link for details. And until next time, I'll see you later.